Hi everyone, my name is Gayle Temple and I work in glass, primarily in glass anyway. I've been at it for a while now. I think I started back in 2010, but I started by taking a class in stained glass. Great, really enjoyed myself, but within a couple of months, it wasn't quite enough to satisfy my curiosity. So now I have my own kiln and I'm working primarily with fused glass. And that basically takes a piece of glass, a chunk of glass like this. And if I was to put this in the kiln at a very, very high temperature, this would melt into a flat puddle piece, so to speak. So let me tell you about some of the newer pieces I've been creating. I'm calling this my amoeba series. And how these are done is I start off with a flat piece of glass, and then I can add to this glass as I go. I can add color with glass frit. It's very small crushed pieces of glass, even like a powder, or in much bigger chunks. So I could add other pieces, large pieces of glass to it, keep building upon it. It's a fairly slow process, and your end result really depends upon how you fire it, what temperatures you get to. It's extremely, extremely important to make sure that it is annealed properly. And annealing means it heats up and cools down at such a pace that is suitable for the thickness in the piece itself so that it won't crack or get stress fractures. This piece got a stress fracture. I had it in the kiln, and honestly, I opened the kiln too soon and it split right there. But that's okay. Sometimes these things you're able to get the coolest results that enhance the spontaneity of creating, right? So here's an example of my amoeba series. This piece started off as a flat piece, and clear flat piece, and I added pieces of orange, pieces of green frit, sheets of blue, pieces of blue, all in different levels of thicknesses. And I fired it in the kiln to melt it at, I think it was about 1450 or something, if I remember. Pretty hot. Then I refired it on a bed of kiln paper or fiber blanket. And that's how it got this really cool shape on the bottom. Now this piece is fairly stable, fairly flat. So that is going to stay as is. And I might add some interesting wire legs or glass rods to support it as a unique centerpiece of art on the table. This is another way I have been creating these amoebas. This one, again, was a piece of flat glass, and I added lots of colored frit and small pieces of glass to it, and then I fired it in the kiln, again, using the same format as these ones on a fiber blanket. So that's what I've been working on these days. And lots of stuff. You know, I tend to like to bounce around to different things. I mean, right behind me here, these pieces I love. Oh my gosh, they're heavy. This is a vessel onto which I have attached a variety of thicknesses of tumbled glass. Tumbled glass are basically pieces that are thrown into a tumbler with some silica sand and then tumbled to take all the sharp edges off and to dull back the glossy finish of the glass. But this with a plant in it on your front porch is really pretty, really beautiful. And this guy, this is called my bad hair day guy. This is, friends of mine told me I channeled my inner Chihuly with this. This was not a glass blown piece. I don't do glass blowing. I've tried it and holy smokes, is it ever tough. But it's so hot, you have to work in front of a furnace all day long, right? And I think I would have a meltdown. But this piece is a technique called vitrograph. And what you do with that is you have a kiln that is above your head, and into that kiln you put a clay vase, and they have holes in the bottom. See the hole in the bottom? Well, you would load this up with cut pieces of glass, put it inside the small kiln that has a hole in the bottom, and the kiln heats up to probably about 1600, 1700 degrees. And then the glass starts melting out the bottom like this. Then I grab these pieces of glass with tongs and I twist them and pull them straight and twist them around. This little piece is clear, red, and white twisted around. It's pretty fun. I really enjoy doing it. I have a much bigger one I'm working on downstairs that I'll show you in a bit, and a beautiful blue one that it's not quite finished, nor is the large one, but you'll get the general idea. So this is an area of my front garden, and here are a couple of pieces I've put outside. They can live out here all the time, actually, as long as it's not freezing cold. Those are some glass vessels I've made on top of the wooden pillars. And right over here, there's a nice set of what I call my waterfall series. And as you can see, they're kind of tucked away in a corner here. Beautiful plate glass, thick plate glass actually, that I shaped and fired in the kiln and then mounted on these metal bases. This smaller one is also a beautiful blue, but the sun's not quite behind it, so you can't really see it. But this is what I do with a lot of my artwork. My kiln room, it's a separate outbuilding. Again, my house is extremely old, so there's not a hope I could, one, fit it into my old house, and two, I would never take the chance of something imploding or get your house hot, the whole 9 yards. It's a small glass kiln, and I don't know what I've got in here, if I have anything in here right now. Oh yeah. So here, I haven't cleaned it up. And these are remnants of the fiber blanket I was talking about earlier. And the fiber blanket, this one, I had a flat piece of glass that went right on top of it, and it slumped over to make the really coolest bowl. It's basically just a giant oven that gets really, really, really hot. This is the control panel, and in my humble opinion, if you can operate a microwave, you can operate a kiln. So there it is, teeny weeny, huh? And this is where I put pieces when I'm on a studio tour, a couple of times a year. That's how you can come and see everything that I have here. This is a very large, very tall, lit from underneath with LED lights, lighting fixture. And these are pieces on the wall that I've put together with fused glass in the center. Again, have some examples of the work I've been doing. This is from a series called Cosmos, which is so refractively beautiful when the sun is on it, both on a wall and in a window. It just jumps out at you. More of my bad hair day pieces with the vitrograph technique. This is a really special piece for me. I did it a number of years ago and I just love it. especially in the winter time, over top of my fireplace. And it's a piece called Dancing Flames. Over here, we have some light fixtures and another sculptural piece from the Wave series. These light fixtures are terrific at nighttime because they just glow that beautiful Caribbean bluish green color, and they have little accents of other colored pieces. And this piece here is probably one of the most challenging but the most rewarding pieces I've ever done. It's called Fly Me to the Moon, and it's fused glass and like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of yards of wire in the shape of a tree, fused in the kiln together, mounted into this gorgeous wooden piece of ash, and sitting on top of a plasma cut 1/2-inch thick base of steel. It was a winter's project last winter, and I'm thrilled with it. I love it. It's currently on exhibition now at the Aurora Cultural Center. So that's my wee showroom. Pretty fun. I love coming down and setting things up here. And I'm gonna walk right now very quickly into my dining room, which I have taken over as a workspace, of course. Everything is everywhere. These are a lot more of my amoeba pieces here that are getting shaped and formed. An outdoor Bad Hair Day piece. And one of my favorite pieces is this one here. Each piece individually hand cut and then ground on one edge to mount it inside of this aluminum frame that I hand finished, and used aluminum because it's much lighter. Can go inside or outside, but again, can't be left outside in the cold. And there are, if I remember correctly, I believe 1,306 pieces of glass in there. Anyway, so thank you. This is my humble abode, and you can reach me anytime and come on by if you want to see more of my work.